Love me some MLB Network, and I love Robert Flores' work on said network. He is on the Rude Guest Hotline right now as we get ready to discuss National Spring Training Baseball. He was on site today to get the lowdown on the Nats. Robert, it's Grant and Danny back here in D.C. How are you?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Very well.
What'd you make of your stop at Nats camp? I mean, I always am interested when you get to go camp to camp and get the vibe and feel from a lot of teams, like how it stacks up to some of the other places you've been.
Well, if there was ever a Major League Baseball like 3-on-3 basketball event, I think the Washington Nationals would do rather well. There are some impressive-looking athletes, starting with James Wood at the top. The other thing that I came away with is the message that Davey Martinez gave his group at the beginning and has preached throughout spring. Two things. One, rebuild, transition, whatever you want to call it. It's done. We're done with it. It's time to win. And two, we need to be better fundamentally in all phases. Catching the ball, throwing the ball, defense in particular, base running, hitting, throwing strikes. So, look, are the Nationals a playoff team in 2025? I don't think so. But could they have an impact on the periphery of that race? Maybe even be on the outskirts, if you will, of a wild card berth. Maybe if things go right, if they stay healthy and reach their potential. But make no mistake about it. I think everyone across the industry realizes just how good this team and this franchise is going to be very soon.
Robert, you mentioned James Wood, so might as well start there. We got a nice little taste last year. A little less than half a season, 300 plate appearances or so, give or take. You saw the flashes. What's realistic for him maybe this year, and then, close your eyes and dream a couple years down the line this year, and then maybe prognosticating out a little further? What do you think?
I think down the road, like the ceiling for James Wood is a franchise cornerstone superstar. That's the ceiling. What we see now or in 2025, I think it's going to be a lot of what you saw last season, but better. I think the more he gets used to major league pitching and the strikeout rate, I think is going to continue to fall. I think it was around 29% last season. So, look, the fundamentals and the power are there, and those are two big factors. I was with Cliff Floyd today, former Expo, who was a big man in his own right, but when he was interviewing James Wood, he was looking up at James. So, but what Cliff talks about with James Wood is his opposite field power, his power from left center on. That is something that is so difficult for young players and young sluggers to acquire and to perfect. And for James Wood, that's his natural swing. So I think that the sky is the limit. And like I said, potentially this is a franchise cornerstone superstar type player.
MLB Network's Robert Flores was in West Palm Beach with the Nats for MLB Network's 30 Clubs in 15-Day series, which will showcase Washington tonight at 6 on MLB Network. You should check that out. I'm looking forward to seeing all the interviews and content and access that you guys got. Let's talk Dylan Cruz for a moment. The 23-year-old who's still rookie eligible. About 120 at-bats last year. He hit 218 or so. I like Dylan Cruz a ton. I followed him all the way back to LSU. But I don't necessarily see like that James Wood superstardom stuff that maybe a lot of people do as a top 5 or so prospect in the game. I just think he's going to be a really good player. Where are you at on him, and what are they saying about Dylan Cruz early in camp?
Well, I haven't, full disclosure, I have not seen Dylan Cruz play in person. I've only seen him a bunch on TV when he was at LSU and then when he came up last season. I can tell you that from talking with Mike Rizzo today and Davey Martinez, they cannot say enough good things about him. They talk about first of all, they talk about his talent. They talk about his baseball instincts, his work ethic. And the other thing that I found interesting in that what both Mike and Davey told Cliff and I about him today is that he loves the game. And what I mean by that is he watches the game. So many guys. The example that Davey told us and told the media today was in a recent spring training game. Dylan Cruz played about 4 innings, 3 or 4 innings, somewhere around there. After that, he watched the rest of the game at the end of the dugout, just watching. So many of and they relayed the fact that so many of the young players, they're just watching their ABs on the iPad or the tablet, the device. Shout out to Apple. But for what Dylan Cruz did for that spring training game and others, he watches the game. And Davey said, look, I mean, there's things that you watch and pick up that you cannot see when you look at the tablet after your at bat. So I think he's going to be a nice. I mean, if James Wood is that cornerstone, the Batman, if you will, then Dylan Cruz could very well be Robin, and that's going to be good enough to win a lot of games and make a lot of multiple All-Star appearances.
So speaking of All-Star appearances, C.J. Abrams was an All-Star last year, and but still a lot of disappointment surrounding his season. There's some ups and downs, lacking consistency. A couple of these months are just valleys. Then, of course, the maturity concerns, end of the season dismissed from the club. Seems everybody's turned the page on that, and they've had their Danny Tanner style heart-to-hearts, and seems everybody's ready to rock and roll, ready to go. But this is a tremendous talent, still only 24 years old. Again, you sort of forget because the new shiny toys are so new and shiny, but this is somebody that could be really, really special as well.
Oh, absolutely. I had someone at today mention that we have all the talent. We have so many young, talented players, but I believe C.J. Abrams is our engine. And look, you mentioned what happened last year and being sent down to the minors in the final days of the regular season. I have 2 sons. I have one that is in his early 20s, and they sometimes do silly things. They sometimes do dumb stuff. And that is part of being a young man, a young 20-something-year-old. And now you heap on the fact that many of these, that you have wealth and you have notoriety. And so these things happen. But it sounds like, first of all, CJ has taken responsibility. He has worked hard. He mentioned that he got in better shape this offseason, really stayed in the weight room to try to build up his body. He tried to eat better, focus on his diet. And Mike and Davey just could not say enough great things about C.J. Abrams. They both love the kid. They both mentioned how he's a really good kid, and he's extremely talented. But it was a hard lesson to learn, but they feel confident that he's learned it, and everyone's ready to move past it and now see what he can do next.
Robert Flores is with us on Grant and Danny, co-host of MLB Network's MLB Central during the season. Robert, what are your concerns about the 2025 Nats, and where are they going to be a bit of a question mark going into the season?
That's a great question. I know last year they were last in the National League in home runs. So, where's the power going to come from? We obviously know that James Wood, prodigious power, but still a young player. I think getting Nathaniel Lowe should help, although Nathaniel Lowe would tell you he's coming off a down season as far as his power numbers go. Paul DeYoung is interesting to me, 20-plus homers last year in a limited time playing third base, and I know that they kind of slotted him in there. I think the power, trying to find a way to get more of that, that's something I'm looking at. And also what is going on with the back end of the rotation. I know the 3 lefties are vying for that 5th spot. I'm also interested, this doesn't answer your question, but one thing that I was interested in today and talking with him and talking with people at Nats camp, Mike Soroka. He is a kid that is extremely talented, has had some tough luck with injuries, but it sounds like they like what they see so far. So hopefully that can continue, and that'd be a nice boost for the rotation for sure.
So, Robert, for us here in DC, full disclosure, a lot of us have been pretty, I don't want to say irritated, but disappointed. And here's where I'm going. Big picture, you look at some of the kids that we've kind of gone through, right? Some below the radar guys, whether it's Luis Garcia or some of the young members of the pitching staff. And this group, as is assembled, could be frisky, could bother some teams, maybe not be a playoff team, but be on the fringes. This would have been a great opportunity to kind of push through that and be a mid-80s win team with a little bit of spending and a little bit of go get it in the offseason. And it seems like this organization wasn't interested in doing that. Kind of what's the national perspective on the learners, the organization, and a group that won as many games, saved the Dodgers over a 10-year period, doesn't seem to be willing to pony up to get back to that spot.
Yeah, I know that. Can I? Let me ask you this: Are you hinting that maybe they should have been in the market for Alex Bregman or something like that?
So whether you win the bidding for someone or not, I totally understand.
Yeah.
You can't pay Pete Alonso because someone else overpaid. Fine, but Robert, it feels like they weren't linked to anybody.
Tag me in.
Go
I'm
ahead,
hinting
Grant.
that it would be nice if they spent money ever.
Fair. Yeah, I definitely get that. I definitely get that. But admittedly, this is from someone that is not boots on the ground, day in on day out basis. When I look at the Nationals, I just see so much young potential. I think that, look, if they had signed let's say they signed Alex Bregman, is that enough to put them in the postseason? I don't know.
Probably not.
I would say no.
Okay, so then why are you doing it?
Well, I mean, it makes you.
That would be my reply.
Yeah,
so,
isn't it better to win 83 games than 73? Or whatever it might be. And it doesn't have to just be Bregman, right? I mean, they basically have the exact same payroll they had last year, and just took the money that came off the books from Corbin and spread it out to like 7 guys that didn't have huge markets. And so it would just be nice if
I tell you one name I would have liked, Quintana. I think that would have been maybe, put him put him in the mix of that rotation. I love Gore. I love Irvin. If you put Quintana there, I think that would have been interesting. And I get it. I mean, as fans, we all want our teams to spend a lot of money or be more aggressive than sometimes they are. I just think with the Nationals, I think that they got 71 wins last year. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they can't approach 78, 80, and then, maybe you even surpass that a little bit. And maybe, like I said, you're on the periphery of the postseason, or maybe you're right in it. Maybe you're right in it come July, and you get real aggressive at the deadline.
That'd be awesome.
So I don't have too much of a problem with this kind of plan that they went in going into 2025, especially when you consider that they're just, I think they're right on the brink of being a real dangerous team in 2026 and beyond.
All right, Roflo, before we let you go, I want to ask you just more broadly, because we don't always get the national baseball guests on, about the division. They're penciled in as the 4th team because you got 3 pretty sizable juggernauts here, the triumvirate that is the Braves, Mets, and Phillies. How do you see that pecking order? Because all 3 look like they're loaded.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, look, you're dealing with maybe the best division in baseball. I mean, the Marlins, they're kind of in a bit of they're definitely in a rebuild and transition. And I mean, they might be trading Sandy Alcantara at some point this year. But yeah, I think the Braves are going to bounce back in a big way. It's like they almost get a de facto free agent class coming in with all their guys that were injured. I'm going to be real interested to see what Ronald Acuna Jr. looks like after another knee injury. The Phillies with that rotation, that they're always going to be in it. So I would, golly, that's tough, man. It really is tough. I think I would lean Braves, but I mean, it's just a toss up between right now. I think the Braves and the Phillies, with the Nats kind of causing them problems and causing them fits throughout the season.
Robert, this is a treat, man. Really appreciate the time, and good luck to that slog going through all those really nice cities in Florida, hanging out in nice weather. Seems miserable.
Well, there is there's a really nice Arby's right around the corner here that I'm staying at West Palm, so I'm eager to try that.
Check it out.
Awesome.
We've been to that Arby's a few times covering the Nats.
Yeah, we passed through
It's
there.
actually store number 93, I think. Really, really good spot.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
See you, Robert.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. There's Robert Flores of MLB Network with us on Grant and Danny.